Hi, Michelle here. I wanted to go ahead and start September off by taking a look at a few plants that I'm going to be keeping my eye on for the month for a few different reasons. These are all, yep, they're all Hoyas. So I thought let's just go ahead and get ready and dive into them. The first plant I'm going to be keeping an eye on this month is my Linearis. The reason being is I took this plant and I propagated some cuttings in water, and I did that for a while, and you can see them over here. Some look okay, some look like they might be struggling just a little bit, but I had this plant, the main plant, in soil, and I decided that once I went ahead and propagated the cuttings into water and got them all rooted, that I would transfer the entire plant into pond. So this is where it's at right now. I'm going to take a look at it. I don't really see any roots peeking out of the pot yet, but it's still pretty early. I have a piece here that looks like it lost its leaves, so I may cut that off and try and propagate that. As you can see, it has had its better days, but it's also doing pretty good right now, with the exception of this new strand down here. And I'll probably trim this off and do something with it. So my first plant that I'm keeping an eye on for the month of September is this nice Linearis. The second plant I'm going to be going ahead and keeping an eye on this September is this Colina IR26. As you can see if I can tilt this down, when I first got it, it had these little tiny leaves, as you can see down at the base here. And I thought that's what the plant was going to look like. But when I put the plant in my higher humidity detail that has lower light than my Mills bow, it started producing these really beautiful coin-shaped leaves. The new leaves come in a little magenta. They do sun stress. They have a slight bit of splashing on the leaves, but they're really beautiful. One of the reasons that I am keeping an eye on this for the month of September is that I just repotted this into a new 4-inch self-watering pot, and I just, for the first time since I've had this plant, put it on a wire trellis. I took some cuttings at the base of the plant, or I'm sorry, at the end of the plant, right there at the end. So I want to see how this plant bounces back. I want to see how the cuttings root. I'd like to see how this plant goes ahead and grows and thrives and propagates. The third plant is kind of it's in transition right now. It's not in its final form. And this is the Graffiti Eye. This plant is, if you can look at the cup, it is very well rooted in here, but it's just on this little tiny little trellis. So what I need to do this month is I plan on taking this off the trellis, putting this in one of these self-watering pots, and I'm going to put it on a much larger trellis. So that way all of these very long stems that aren't producing any new growth will hopefully start producing leaves at the nodes. It did produce a nice little new leaf right there, but it kind of is growing all over the place. But that is definitely one of the first things I have planned on this month, is this Graffiti Eye. And I can't wait to see what it looks like on a larger trellis. So the third plant I'm going to be looking out for during the month of September is the Graffiti Eye. The fourth plant that I'm keeping an eye on and I'm going to be watching pretty close this month is my Globulosa. And the reason I am watching this plant this month is, let me set this down. You may not see this very often, but I am attempting to wrap this around a circular wire trellis. So it has this stem that it has grown, and it even has a peduncle right there and a peduncle right here. It has grown so that I can wrap it around the trellis, but I'm kind of holding off on it right now because, as you can see, it's got some leaves there, it's got some leaves there, and it's got some leaves with a peduncle right there. And I would like to have these become a little bit more established before going ahead and wrapping this around the trellis and potentially causing these new leaves to turn brown and die off. So I am very carefully keeping this as it wants to grow. And once these new leaves come in, hopefully this month, I will go ahead and wrap this around this wire trellis, and we'll go and see how this continues its growth pattern. Because I don't really know of anyone that has tried to grow a globulosa on a round wire trellis. So it's just a little bit of an experimentation for me. So that is the fourth plant that I'm going to be taking a careful consideration of in September. And finally, the fifth and final plant that I'm going to be keeping a close eye on in the month of September is this Kaganensis. And this has really, this was in one of my D12 cabinets. And, well, let me back up. Originally, this was in my Mills bow. It bloomed. It has you can see the peduncle here, but then it didn't bloom again, and it got really bleached from the lights of my Mills bow. So I moved it into the D12 cabinet in order to let the leaves grow darker again and for the plant to recover. Unfortunately, the plant just never grew. The leaves darkened up, and as you can see, it has this really beautiful shimmer, kind of like how anthuriums have a kind of a shimmer, or how some certain velvet leaf philodendrons have a shimmery appearance to the leaves. This one has it also. But what I did was I decided I wanted to see this bloom again, so I moved it back from its lower light but high humidity D12 back into the Mills bow with very high light and about the same humidity, but it also had a higher temp. As soon as I did that, it just exploded with growth, which you can see, for example, back here. There are 2 new leaves and some new growth on there, and as well as back here along this side. And also back here, you can kind of see, like, this leaf was a new leaf, and you can see the leaves over here. But ever since then, since the new leaves like this came in, it's grown even more new leaves. So now I have growths here, 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 1 here, and 2 here. So these are all new, And I've only had the plant in the Millsbo for about 3.5 weeks. So I'm really excited to see the new growth that it has now come in. And I'm really excited to see if the peduncle will bud up, because that would be really exciting to see this bloom again. It has really beautiful blooms. So the fifth and final plant for the month of September that I'm going to be keeping a close eye on is the Kaganensis. These are the 5 that I wanted to show you today. Of course, there are many more Hoyas that I'm going to be actually keeping an eye on, but these are the 5 that I am most interested in, most excited about, and it will be very interesting to see what they look like at the end of the month. I wanted to thank you for joining me today. If you like this video, I'd really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more planty content like this, please consider subscribing to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. And if you have anything you'd like to add to the conversation, please add it in the comments below. I'd really love to hear your opinions and your ideas on this subject. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. And until next time, goodbye.